Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Vanessa, and in today's video, I am going to talk about how self-pity and pity in general is your worst enemy. So first of all, let's get clear on what pity is. I like to compare pity and contrast it with empathy because they can seem similar, but they're actually different. Pity is, in my opinion, useless, and compassion and empathy are useful. So, just to give you a real energetic feel of the differences between pity and compassion and empathy, pity, if you get pity from someone else, it's like it looking down on you. And it's like saying, oh no, it must suck to be you. You must be in such a horrible situation. It must be horrible to be you. And it's kind of isolating and distancing. And it doesn't provide any solution, it doesn't provide any warmth. It just globalizes the situation that you're in that may be negative and just adds fuel to the fire. So let's say you got, fired from your job, or your boyfriend or your girlfriend broke up with you, or you have some financial crisis going on in your life. I'm gonna give you the energy of pity, and it makes me cringe, and it's probably gonna make you cringe too. And it does that for a reason. So pity is like a, oh no, or like a, oh, how horrible for you. Oh, that must be really awful. No, it's like, oh, it's heavy, and it causes this cognitive dissonance because you're like, oh, I can see that you're recognizing my situation, but at the same time, I'm not feeling any better. And if anything, it's what just feels better is the ego, getting its self gratification from wallowing in self pity, because it wants to wallow in self pity because it's getting some sort of weird benefit from that. So if there's a part of your ego that really wants to wallow in self pity, maybe your ego, its only way to get attention is through being a victim and being in horrible situations and needing to be saved, and getting pity is the only form of attention your ego can get. Then maybe it's smart, going to victimization and going to boohoo, poor me. I have such a horrible situation. Give me attention because I am a victim of life. If that's the only way that you've been getting attention in your life, then your ego personality structure will be like, I have to stay in this victim, poor me mentality in order to get attention. This is the belief. So when I work with my clients and we do subconscious rewiring, we remove all of that. So you don't need to be a victim to get attention. So you don't need to be in horrible situations and disastrous situations in order to be saved, or in order to be loved, or in order to be taken care of. So the energy of pity, I can't go into it too much because it just makes me cringe too much. But it's this like, oh, like no, oh no, poor you. Oh, that must be horrible. No. And it just offers no solution. It's just makes the situation bigger, and affirms the shittiness, amplifies and solidifies the shit. But this is also why I don't like pity and self-pity, because pity and self-pity solidifies it in your reality, makes it more real, makes it more, manifested, and then more of that is just going to come. So I really just don't like self-pity, because if you're in a bad situation, you want to get out. You don't want to solidify it. You don't want to amplify it. You don't want to make it bigger. You don't want to make a bad situation even more solid. You want to transmute that. You want to get out of that. And this is where love, compassion, and empathy is very different. Empathy softens the solidity of the negative situation. Empathy recognizes, it sees, and it acknowledges, I see that this is happening, and that's okay. We're not going to go, oh no. We're just saying that I see you, I hear you, I acknowledge you, and what you're feeling right now is okay. It's seen, it's heard. This pacifies, this softens, this, starts to break down the realness of whatever negative situation has been created, instead of solidifying it. So I really want you to pay attention to where you might have some subtle self-pity going on in your life, because don't get me wrong, I have also caught myself in self-pity sometimes, where I have been in a situation that is actually perfectly fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm creating a self-pitying story around it. And when you do that, you cut off your own creative hands. You say, there's nothing I can do, everything is out of my control, and that is disempowering. And if you want to empower yourself, if you want to be able to be the creator of your reality, have deliberate control in the situation, and have an influence in creating situations that go in your favor, get out of self-pity as fast as you can. I'm not saying ignore your feelings. I'm not saying if you need to cry, don't cry. Validate your feelings, compassion and empathy. But get out of self-pity as soon as you notice it, because self-pity is also the start of a downward spiral. As soon as you start to tell a negative story to yourself and you repeat it over and over again, life is against me, God is evil, the universe never supports me, la da 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 da, you're creating momentum in this negative downward spiral, and before you know it, you're depressed. And you have no resources within yourself to get yourself up again. And now you're a super victim. So you want to prevent yourself from going down this downward spiral that starts with self-pity. And it can be subtle. Sometimes you can just start to have these subtle negative thoughts, and before you know it, your frequency is just going down and down and down and down. And you're finding more reasons to add shit to the pile of shit, because that's what it wants to do. Self-pity wants to do that, wants to self-validate. And then you add more and more and more on top, and then before you know it, you're just like, you feel like shit. So catch yourself if you notice that you're having these subtle thoughts of self-pity, of oh no, boo-hoo, poor me thoughts. And I don't want to remind you to have compassion and empathy towards yourself. Be kind and soft and caring towards yourself. But notice where you victimize yourself. Because when you victimize yourself, you give away your power. And when you give away your power, you don't have the ability to change or influence your life. And you're saying, my life is totally dictated by my surroundings, by people around me, by everything else, everything beyond myself. And you just don't want to be there. So again, I have compassion and empathy for, the downward spirals. I've been there myself, and you reach the bottom, you're in the valley of despair, and everything seems hopeless, and life seems hopeless. And you just want to lay in bed for, weeks and do nothing. I get it. But at some point, you're going to have to stop the train of thought that is negative, not serving, and you're going to have to turn it around and be your own cheerleader and be your own support system, and start telling yourself a different story that will create an upward spiral, that will get you out, that will get you up and going, that will get you ignited and alive again. And this is the power of thought, and this is the power of our subconscious beliefs. So when you're in, the downward spiral, you feel weak. But when you have a different story and you have a different belief system about yourself and your capabilities and what you can do and how you can handle life, you feel stronger. If you have your aura measured and you have your electromagnetic field measured, it is stronger, bigger, and it has a stronger influence on your environment. There's so much that happens in the subtle field that we can't see. That's just incredible. So notice when you catch yourself in self-pity, and have empathy and compassion for your self-pity. Don't judge yourself. We all have self-pity sometimes. It happens. It's a human trait. It's normal. I'm not saying for you to jump from, I am horribly depressed and life is against me, to I am so happy and I'm a millionaire. Go slowly, go subtle, go, well, at least I got out of bed today. Well, at least I can brush my teeth. But at least I can make a cup of tea. And just soften up and be a bit kind to yourself. And, say, well, today is just one day. I can give myself a day of rest and relaxation. Tomorrow's a new day. Start to just gently tell yourself a different story. And start to value yourself. Self-pity also is often associated with very low self-worth. So start to appreciate some things about yourself. So I know that when you're stuck in the darkness and you just seem like life is just going to be dark forever. Screen went dark when I said that. When you're stuck in darkness and you feel like it's just going to be dark forever, don't worry, it's not going to be. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, even when it doesn't feel like it. You're not, a bad person. There's something wrong with you for having negative thoughts. We all have them. Be soft, gentle, kind with yourself. Your ego is hurting, and it needs compassion and empathy. So if you find yourself in self-pity, just going to emphasize this again. Don't beat yourself up. Slowly start to change the story that you're telling yourself. Find self-value. Find the stuff about yourself that you actually appreciate. You are a valuable whole human being. You don't need to be fixed. You don't need to be saved. You don't need anything outside of yourself. You are whole and perfect as you are. I know that these things can sound like cliche sayings, but they're true. You are whole and perfect as you are. And I'm reminding you of that because when we are in self-pity, when we are in self-doubt, when we criticize ourselves, that's when we forget that. So it's important for you to remember that when you find yourself in the valley of despair and the whole world is against you. You know, everything is perfectly orchestrated. It doesn't feel like it, but just because it doesn't feel like it just doesn't mean that what you're feeling is a true description of reality. Sometimes we paint reality with this horrible brush of, oh, life is so disastrous, when actually everything is just fine. Everything is working out perfectly. So just remind yourself of that. You're on track. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to do. Giving you a little prompt to soften up and start telling yourself a different story. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, do all of that. It's super helpful. Let me know in the comments below what you want the next videos to be about. I'm here to serve you, to support you, and uplift you. And I will see you in the next video.